Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin back again with another reaction video. And it's been a long time coming, but we're going to be looking at Confucius today. Some Eastern philosophy. Been wanting to do a Confucius video for a while now. Just took me a while to find a good one, but this one is done by the School of Life. So let's dive right in.
We know very little for certain about the life of the Chinese philosopher Confucius. He's said to have been born in 551 BC in China. He may have been a student of the Taoist master Lao Tzu. According to tradition, he began government service and served many roles, including Minister of Crime under Duke Ding in the state of Lu. However, Confucius and the Duke fell out after the Duke received a present from a neighbouring ruler, 80 beautiful women and 124 horses. The Duke spent all his time riding horses and being entertained by the women, which Confucius found deeply improper for a ruler. So he left the court and wandered for years. Around between the 3rd and 5th century BC, Confucius's works were collected into the Analects, a collection of sayings written down by his followers. Some of the morals Confucius taught are easily recognizable, most notably his version of the Golden Rule: do not do unto others what you don't want done to yourself. But some of them also sound very strange or old-fashioned to modern ears, especially to...
I think it's worth noting that, this is 500 years BC before the Bible's written, and that sounds a lot like the Bible's version of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Yeah. Same thing, man.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fascinating. So that's like note one.
Well, the devil's a clever character, and he could have had that knowledge and decided to get ahead of the curve just to confuse people. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Also, other side note there was that Confucius spent some time in the wilderness, another staple of all the great sages and mystics and everyone wandering.
They all go off into the wilderness.
They all go off. And I'm like, maybe we all just need to go take a week or two in the woods.
Sure.
And we'll come back enlightened or something.
Yeah, all of us, every single person.
The Western ones. But we need his advice all the more for this. It serves as an antidote to the troubles we currently face. Here are a few examples of what Confucius helps us to remember. 1. Ceremony is important. The Analects are filled with strange conversations between Confucius and his disciples, like this one. Tse Kung wished to do away with the offering of a sheep. Confucius said, "Tse, you love the sheep, I love the ceremony." At first this is baffling, if not also humorous. Why not save the sheep? But Confucius is reminding Tse and us about the importance of ceremony. In the modern world, we tend to shun ceremony and see this as a good thing, a sign of intimacy or a lack of pretension. But Confucius believed in the value of ceremonies over sheep because he valued what he called ritual propriety. This might seem a very outdated and conservative idea, but in fact many of us long for particular rituals. That meal Mum cooked for us whenever we were sick, or the yearly birthday outing, or our wedding vows. We understand that certain premeditated, deliberate and precise gestures stir our emotions deeply. Rituals make our intentions clear, and they help us to understand how to behave. 2. We should treat our pets.
Pause. Yeah. It's interesting how things get incepted into the mind, and a theme that's kind of coming out this week is something about rituals. Seems to be the theme of some of our videos this week, and the importance of them. In this one, even taking care of something like the sheep, but putting a priority on ritual, something that seems to be missing from a lot of Western culture these days. The idea of ritual and getting together, we do it on in small pockets, but I think we are doing it less and less these days.
I guess the only sticking point about it is, first of all, I agree. I agree that rituals, it's not hard if you... Well, maybe it's hard for some, but if you think about it, there's benefits to everything that he's said so far.
Yeah.
And the ritual thing not excluded. But sometimes you'll see, I remember when I was in art school, I was talking about, we were learning proportion and shape and everything like that. And I was well, what about Dr. Seuss? He draws all kinds of crazy proportions, and he was a great artist. And the guy was well, when you're Dr. Seuss, you can do that. And there's a point to be made there, because that's what gets confusing to somebody like me that's, grew up trying to follow the rules and trying to look around and see what's going on. And then you would see the master doing something different. And it's like, well, the master, there is a point to be made where it's like, the master is the master, though. You know, like within reason, if he's being a bastard, then that's not okay. If he's breaking some serious laws or harming others or something like that, you could get in discussion about that. But in general, these things make sense. And then, of course, there's exceptions.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Parents with reverence. In particular, Confucius had a very strict idea about how we should behave towards our parents. He believed that we should obey them when we're young, care for them when they're old, mourn at length when they die, and make huge sacrifices in their memory thereafter. He even said that we shouldn't travel far away while our parents are alive, and should cover for them if they steal a sheep. This attitude is known as filial piety. This sounds strange now, when many of us leave our parents' home as teenagers and rarely return to visit. We may even see them as strangers, arbitrarily thrust upon us by fate. After all, our parents are so out of touch, so pitifully human in their shortcomings, so difficult, so judgmental, and they have such bad taste in music. Yet Confucius recognised that in many ways moral life begins in the family. We cannot truly be caring, wise, grateful and conscientious unless we remember Mum's birthday and meet Dad for lunch. 3. We should be obedient to honourable people. Modern society is very egalitarian. We believe that we're all born equal and should ultimately be able to say and do whatever we like. We reject many rigid hierarchical roles. Yet Confucius told his followers, "Let the ruler be a ruler, the subject, a father, and a son, a son." This might sound jarring, but it is in fact important to realise that there are people worthy of our deep veneration, even our simple and humble obedience. We need to be modest enough to recognise the people whose experience or accomplishments outweigh our own. We should also practice peaceably doing what these people need, ask or command. Confucius.
So this is essentially like a conservative's wet dream.
Yeah, it's very conservative, which makes me think about like what was before this.
Right.
Like what was life like before Confucius showed up? Because was it madness? Was it like super liberal? Like,
No, who knows? We weren't there. There might have been other similar teachings. That were just around,
because it's all good stuff, like honor your parents and listen to the smart people that are like the hierarchy system. If it's good, listen to the good people that are trying to run stuff.
Well, if you're gonna believe in such thing as good, this is a good thing to latch onto. Again, I'm not a conservative at a cellular level. So but I see it and I respect it. I see it and I can respect it, but it, I wouldn't go away and meditate on these things and apply it to myself like crazy. But I would, even so selfishly as to be probably pleased with a society surrounding me that did. Be like, good. There aren't roving gangs of mohawked, people in Mad Max world, causing chaos. These people respect their elders. These are good salt of the earth type people.
Confucius explained, "The relation between superiors and inferiors is like that between the wind and the grass. The grass must bend when the wind blows across it." Bending gracefully is in fact not a sign of weakness, but a gesture of humility and respect. 4. Cultivated knowledge can be more important than creativity. Modern culture places a lot of emphasis on creativity, unique insights that come to us suddenly. But Confucius was adamant about the importance of the universal wisdom that comes from years of hard work and reflection. He listed benevolence, ritual propriety, righteousness, wisdom, integrity as the 5 constant virtues. While Confucius believed that people were inherently good, he also saw that virtues like these must be constantly cultivated, just like plants in a garden. He spoke about moral character and wisdom as the work of a lifetime. We can see now why he had such reverence for his elders. Of course, a burst of inspiration may well be what we need to start our business or redo our rough draft or reinvent our life. But if we're being very honest with ourselves, we'll have to admit that we also need to devote more energy to slowly changing our habits. This, more than anything else, is what prevents us from becoming truly intelligent, accomplished and wise. Confucius died without reforming the decadent duke and his officials, but after his death, his followers created schools and temples in his honour across East Asia, passing his teachings along for over 2,000 years. Today, millions of people still follow Confucius's teachings as a spiritual or religious discipline, and his thought has been a huge influence on Eastern political ideas about morality, obedience, and good leadership. We might find Confucian virtues a bit strange or old-fashioned, but this is what ultimately makes them all the more important. We need them as a corrective to our own excesses. The modern world is almost surprisingly totally un-Confucian, informal, egalitarian, and full of innovation. So we're conversely at risk of becoming impulsive, irreverent and thoughtless, without a little advice from Confucius about good behaviour and sheep.
It's a good video, man. Made me think of a few things. One, inside of that philosophy, there wasn't really anything religious or anything about God in there. It was more of just like a moral way of like living.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it just reminded me of people who, some people can live more loose, chaotic life and they're fine. They can go the distance with that their whole life. And then it made me think of like people who lived kind of like a wild lifestyle and they wanted change, and then they found conservatism somewhere in like a religion or, some type of a path and like in work or something. And it helped them change their life. I think there was a lot of really good morals and stuff in there.
Are you a normie or not?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the mystic swims where the psychotic drowns. I love that. As of yet, I maintain loving that statement.
Yeah.
The greatest person I know is nothing like me. One of my favorite people on planet is nothing like me, and their way of doing things is, I don't let myself get too excited and I don't let myself get too down about anything. And I'm like, you're brilliant. But you are what you are at the end of the day. And I will never fully divulge what I am because I know it's ununderstandable to normies. If you're a normie, live by this. It will help you. It will help you get along with things. If you care to go deeper into things, it fragments into abstraction and no longer it's nothing to even stand on. It is madness to you to know the deepest truth. So you're not going to get to know the deepest truth. You're going to have to hate someone like me who could shit on it. You know what I mean? You have to hate that. But if you're normal and sane, this is good. And I like that there's normal and sane things.
Yeah.
I'm that crazy. But at the end of the day, if you're not that way, it's, I could look at it and understand why it's a good jigsaw puzzle piece.
Yeah.
But
That's a good way of putting it.
But it doesn't inspire me. My mind fills up with all these accounts of things that are outside of that.
Well,
that
if
can't
if
account
anything,
for.
it can be useful as kind of like a historical piece of like, oh, there's some information about the East and like influence on people and culture. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, for you guys out there, if you liked our reaction on this, please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone. Till next time,
Stay spiritual.